Welcome to Projects from the Bottom Drawer. My name is Brian, and you can find us at wearable.com/projects or bottomdrawerprojects.com. I have the EICO 950 on the bench, and tonight I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm just going to go ahead and finish cleaning up the power supply, as in removing what I can, probably stripping down some wire, cleaning that up. May run a new piece here, and probably will go down to the pot, onto the chassis, and then back up over, just to try and keep my signal leads on chassis. And I'm going to remove this guy, which for some reason the original owner chopped off with a little tiny nub, and then wrapped another wire around it and ran it back. So I'm not trying to remember where any of the parts are on the power supply tube. I'm just going to rebuild it from the schematic, because you've probably seen the pictures on projects. This thing was just an absolute mess. All kinds of solder blobs, J-hooks, parts just flip-flopping everywhere. And I just said, I'm going to pull them out, and I'm going to replace them all at once. So that's what we're going to do. But tonight, it's merely cleanup. So let me grab some tools here. Have our needle nose, our wire strippers. There's an orange stick. Cutters. And of course, solder wick. Always need solder wick. That is one thing that you go through a lot when doing this. Although I do have a solder pult over there. I should probably get that out and see if that works for this kind of stuff. Let's start with this wire first. Let's get rid of it. All right, let's see. It's a nice big long wire hanging out into space there, with plenty of fibers to make a bird nest out of. So let's see, we should be able to just undo this and feed it out of the solder blob. Yep, there we go. All right, you get back in focus. And I do apologize if that wasn't in focus a moment ago. All right, so it looks like we have a piece of wire that runs from this terminal to ground. Not that you'd ever know from the blobs of solder on everything. Ugh. All right, so let's see. I'm just going to replace that too, because I can. Just give it a little more, we'll make it a little neater. Besides, that wire that's on there doesn't even look like it was wetted. Yeah, big old blob of solder. Let's bend that down a little bit so we can actually get in there. Let's move that pin out. Clean it up just a little more. I'd really like to know what kind of solder they used on this garbage. All right, let's get you. This is a wire that runs from up top and hits the power supply. So I'm going to get it out of the way for now since it's a plastic wire. There we go. Let's see. Piece of 22 gauge bus wire. Let's see, can I get a little more light in here? Yep, sure can. Awesome. All right. Let's give this a little bend. We'll put that there. Wrap it around. All right. And then we'll just bring this around. Bring it through here. I want a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to have little ground loops that you can use to test on. And that way, if you ever actually have to take it off, well, you don't have to cut a new piece. You can just snip it, pull it out, and then when you're done, bring it back around. So let's put you there. We'll move you down a little bit. Let's see, what color wire for this guy? I haven't used any orange. Let's use some orange. Okay, so we want to come up like that. I want to come off that terminal. Let's go around, come up, and give ourselves a little bit of room to form things. And let's see, can we even see? Okay, there's that wire. It's hard to see, but this big resistor here is going to the junction of the switch in this unusual white capacitor here, which is right below a mica capacitor. And yes, I am going to replace the mica capacitor. I don't care. It's 80 years old, and there's a chance it could go bad. The internet will tell you otherwise, but if you look deep enough, the internet will also tell you that yes, those do indeed go bad. And as we get older and older, the likelihood of that happening is probably getting a lot greater. So let's clean this up again. And get rid of the fiber on it. Whatever that other garbage is. All right, so let's bend that around. You get out of there. And how about you focus right there? Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got a nice wrap. Let's take it down to the chassis. We'll run it around, over, back up. And I should have run this on the other side. So let's do that real quick. Now again, that's a great reason to give yourself a little bit of extra room. If you have to take something off, move it. You don't have to worry about unsoldering everything. You just take off the side you need, clean it up, move it around, and you're done. All right, so you go in there. Now let's wrap you around this side. See, where's my stick? Bring you around, keep you tight. And there we go. Come on, focus, thank you. So now what I can do is I'll trim a little bit of off this and just kind of bring it in at an angle. So that way it's a nice, let's see, we can probably make this a little shorter actually. Yeah, we didn't need quite that much cable. So let's trim. Come on. I know you want to come off there. The light was a little loose. All right, so let's bring you around. Bring you in here. Let's see, we'll wrap you by holding you. Wrap you, come on, around. Bring you around, a nice tight wrap. Let's clean up the cable a bit. A little bit too long. Didn't quite want it that long, but that'll do. So I'll go ahead and solder the socket lead as soon as I get the fibers from the old wire off there. All right, we have a nice fillet. The wires are still visible, but everything is solid. Let's go over to the ground terminal. as I slip off. Give that a little bit of heat. Feed it into the joint. And there we go, a nice shiny joint. Just do a little bit more. Let's see. No cleanup. Little, let's see. All right, that'll work. Let's go to this joint. Get that hot. Feed some solder in. Let it flow. And again, a nice joint. You can still see the wire in it. And there's not so much that it's blobbed up like it was before. So let's see. Next, let's get this 47K. Are you going to focus on anything in the area I want? And I would say the answer to that is no. So let's adjust here a bit. There we go. Going to take this part here out. I'm going to save it just because I like to check all of the parts when I take them out. No other reason. So first of all, let's get this off. And yeah, that's what I thought. Just a big old blob of solder on there. All right, let's remove that big old blob of solder. And let's clean that up just a bit more. All right, the pin is nice and clean. Here is another piece of wire that's just wrapped in a big old solder blob. This is the transformer. I would assume this is the center tap since it's going to ground. And fortunately, we have enough wire, unlike this one, which as you can see I had to stretch a little bit with my wire stretcher. Very handy things, wire stretchers. I highly suggest one in your toolbox. But first, let's get this mess off here. And I think I'm probably going to have to hit that with a little bit extra solder just to give me a nice contact point. There we go. Oh yeah. Yeah, that solder just blobbed up on there. Smells like old television. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, pick up an old piece of equipment and start heating up solder joints, and you'll find out real quick. It's just a unique smell in electronics. You know, I don't know what it is. Is it the old rosin? Probably. But yeah. There we go. Joint is clean. Let's get the wick trimmed, and this is what we're going to be cleaning up. So I'm just going to cut that off fairly close to the end. Give myself just a little bit there. Let's get the debris out. Get rid of this nice frayed, burnt end. And when you're stripping this wire, remember that it's two-part. There's a cloth coating, and then there's a, I don't know if it's early thermoplastic, if it's something else, some sort of plastic underneath of it. All right, let's see. Is that even going to take solder? Let me get a little bit of solder on this. Yep, it is good. So now that goes back. Let's see. Let me make sure that this is in a good routed position first. And so you're coming up behind the red wire. Let's go under this one. Get you down closer to the chassis. Plenty of wire. Let's bring you up through here. And we'll take you and bring you around a little more. Wrap you around. Let's trim. And then I will wrap around more, perhaps. There we go. Bring that around. Lay that down on the chassis as best I can. Actually, we can probably do it even better by doing that. Can I? Let's see here. Let's get a little bit of weight on that to keep that down while we're soldering. And don't poke yourself in the eye there, Brian. Let's see, feed it into the joint. And there we go, another nice clean joint. And I can still see wire strands in there, so we didn't get too much solder on it. And because it's soldered in place, the wire wants to stay on the chassis now. Which, again, it's always good to keep your AC wires, your signal wires as close to ground as possible. It just helps, prevent it from picking up anything. So last thing, and let's move a little bit here. Let's see if you'll focus there. You kind of will. So I'm going to undo this 500 ohm resistor. Now, it's kind of a shame that they did what they did to this resistor, because I would just pull it out, clean it up, verify that it's 500 ohms still, or close enough to it, 10%, and reuse it. But since they didn't, and what is this the? Is this the one that you wrapped in place? That would be hilarious. Nope, everything is just laid in there. There you go. One 500 ohm resistor. 500 ohm, 4 watts, 10%. I don't recognize the manufacturer on that. But here is a much later 500 ohm 10 watt. And you can see quite a difference. It's kind of interesting. This one is one that I used in a Olson TE 189 rebuild, so I had one extra. Probably should pick up a couple more of those because having that size resistor around is pretty handy. So the last thing I'm going to do, and this is just a cleanup, is I'm going to take this black wire and just clean the end of it up too. Hit it with some solder, and then it'll just be in there ready to go when we're ready for it. Oh boy, this one's sticky. The insulation on this thing is hard as a rock. All right, there we go. Got a clean strip. I don't see any green on it, which is good. Some of the other ones have green on them growing inside of the wire shell. So let's get some solder on this. All right, so that'll give us a nice solid foundation to wrap it when we're ready to install it. And it'll hopefully prevent oxidation from happening on the wire surface, hopefully. All right, so that's really all for tonight. Just some general cleanup, some little bit of wire installation. Next will probably be the capacitors down here. This guy. There's some resistors hiding in here. There's this. Let me move the camera up for you. Let's see. Let's get some focus. There's this mess. There's another capacitor hiding here with enough J hooks in them to fill up a convention of gentlemen named J. And that'll really give us a good start on getting this guy back. My, that is so nasty. Giving this guy a new start on life. I see some joints in here that are going to have to be hit, even though they're just... Why did you bend that down like that? Sorry, just musing over the previous owner's choices and whatever they think they were doing here. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. You can find us at wearabore.com/projects for this device and many more.